What's up everybody, welcome back. So in this video we're gonna have a look at BloodSplatter decals and attaching them to an enemy character, and we're also gonna make sure that we have a nice satisfying blood splatter on a wall behind an enemy if we shoot them close to a wall. So let's get started by setting up a new Flash surface type. So first of all we need to go to the project settings. So let's go to edit project settings and go to the physics section. And at the bottom we already added a few surface types, and I have created a new one called Flash. So make sure you add a Flash surface type. And after that you also need to make a PhysicalMaterial for that Flash surface type. So in the content browser right click and create a PhysicalMaterial. And then assign the new surface type Flash to that material. Then you want to make sure that the enemy character you're using also has that surface type assigned. So I have this mannequin that I called a zombie because he uses some zombie animations. I was using some kind of yellow material for him and the decals didn't appear on him, so I gave him one of the starter content materials. So you're just gonna go to that material and open it up. So any material that's assigned to your enemies. And then you want to make sure that the physics material in here is set to the Flash surface type or the Flash physics material that we created. So make sure you assign that. After you did that, you want to make sure that you change the bullet trace. So we're going to set up an overlapping trace so we can still hit things after we hit an enemy. So let's go back to our project settings and go to the collision tab. So if you already have a bullet trace, then you can leave it like it is over here. Otherwise you're going to create a new trace and call that bullet trace, set the default response to block, that's fine. And then go to the presets. You want to make sure that the pawn over here is ignoring our bullet trace. So this is usually set on the collision capsule for the pawn. So we don't want to shoot the collision capsule, so that's why we ignore this. And you want to make sure that your character mesh is overlapping your bullet trace. So make sure you set up those two for your bullet trace. And let me see, after you did that, you want to go to the character, and in the previous video we created a getImpactDecal function. So we're gonna add this new surface type Flash to this. So if you right click on the switch node, you can refresh the node and your new surface type will appear. Then you need to create a new array over here and store your Flash decals in there, and make sure you select a random one if you hit the Flash surface type, so like we set it up previously. And that's going to return the decal that we're going to use later on. So you can do the same thing if you have an ImpactFX function. Obviously you can add the surface type in here as well. So one of my viewers actually mentioned you could easily store this in a map and then map the decals to the surface type. So that's an option as well, and that's gonna leave a little bit less of a mess in here. So that's a good idea actually. If you want to set it up a little bit cleaner, you can create a map for this. So after we did the surface type in here, we're going to clean up the fire event a little bit. So it kind of depends on how you set up your fire event, obviously. So as long as you have a multi-line trace by channel or a line trace by channel, that's fine. We're going to get back to this in a little bit. What I did for now was make sure that my third person fire event only plays the animation and the third person muzzle flash. And I moved the creation of the decal and the ImpactFX to separate functions. So I have one function for creating ImpactFX, which is a multicast event. So first a normal event checks if I'm the host or the client. Then we have a server version that tells the server to call the multicast event, and the multicast event plays the ImpactFX. And I'm doing the same thing for decals. So that's exactly the same setup, but then we're gonna create a decal in here. So if we have the fire event, we need to make sure that we have a multi-line trace by channel. So if you have a normal line trace by channel, you want to replace it for a multi-line trace. And then you're going to create a function that's called ProcessHits. And the input for that function is going to be an array of hit results. And after you did that, you can go into that function, and then over here you're going to create all of the impact and decals after you evaluated the hit. So we're going to get a for each loop in here and plug in the all hits array. And then first I just create the impact FX. So I have my play create impact FX function over here, and simply plug in all of the nodes from the hit result. So you can play impact FX and create the impact decal in here. And that's pretty much all you do in the ProcessHits function. You can damage your actors in there as well, for example, so you can expand this. And after you did that, you should have a pretty decent setup for spawning the decals. So then you can go to your create decal function, and here you want to make sure that you have a hit actor that you passed on from the hit result. So with the ProcessHits function in the hit result, the hit actor, you want to pass it on to your create impact decal function, and then also the hit bone name. Then after you create the material instance, you're gonna cast to your enemy, or you're gonna check if the hit actor has an interface implemented, for example. So one way or another you want to make sure that this is an enemy or not. And if it is an enemy, you want to get the mesh, and then you're gonna spawn a decal attached. So in the previous version, if the cast failed, we spawned a decal at location, so that's this branch, and you can simply continue from the false over here. And if you want to attach a decal, we're gonna spawn a decal attached. So you need to get a size in here. So I made a little bit of a random size. You want to get the decal material from the decal from the created dynamic material instance. Then you want to get the mesh from your enemy, so you can attach it to that component, and you could also get the component from the hit result if you would like to. And then you need to get the attached bone name, so that's the name that we passed on from the hit result as well. And the location and the rotation come from the hit results as well, so that's the impact and the impact point and the impact normal. So after you spawned the decal attached, you can simply use the same set fade screen size node and the fade out nodes that we used in the previous video. So if you want to use the fade out node, you need to make sure you have the decal lifetime opacity node in your materials. So after you set this up, I found out that the keep world position works the best for working with attached decals. So this is not going to be 100% perfect. Decals get projected on your character, so there's going to be a little bit of movement and things around. Especially if your character is moving, the decals won't be 100% perfect, but this works pretty good. So there we have our blood impact decals. So that part is working. Now how do we make sure that we get a decal blood splatter on the enemy behind them? For that we're gonna go to the ProcessHits function. And then before I create my normal decal, I'm gonna get a branch in here, and I'm gonna check if this is a blocking hit or not. So if this is a blocking hit, that means we hit a wall or something. So then we want to check if we want to create a blood impact there or not. So after I created the decal and pretty much this part of the loop, so this loop body is done, I'm gonna set a local variable that's called the previous hit surface, and I'm gonna also set a local variable that's the previous hit distance, and both of these simply come from the hit result over here. Then the new loop body is gonna enter, and then it's gonna check with a branch if this hit is a blocking hit or not. So we need to plug this in over here. If this is not a blocking hit, we can simply continue and create the decal like we did before. If this is a blocking hit, this is the last hit of this trace, and we're gonna check if the previous hit surface was flash or not. So we're gonna add another branch in here and check if the previous hit surface is flash. If this is true, then we're gonna create another branch, and I want to know if the distance is smaller than a certain distance. So I'm gonna get the distance from the hit result over here. I'm gonna subtract the previous hit distance, and I'm gonna make sure that it's smaller than 500 units. So if this is true, I'm going to create an extra impact decal. So I'm simply going to drag the create impact decal node in here. And for the surface type, I'm going to enter flash manually. And then I can plug the rest in like they were before. So the location, rotation, hit actor, and the hit bone name. And they simply come from the hit result over here. And then I want to continue like I did before, so I also want to make sure that I create a nice bullet hole impact in the center of my blood splatter. So I'm going to create 2 decals over here. And you also want to make sure that you connect up the false pins as well. So another decal will still be created if this isn't true. So if you set it up like this, then you should get a nice satisfying blood splatter if the enemy is 500 units or closer to a wall. And then there's one small thing that I changed as well, and that's in the create impact decal function. Because the blood splatter is pretty small, and you can check over here if we create a blood splatter impact on a wall. So this branch is for spawning normal decals at a location, so not on an actor. So this means this is on a wall or an object. So if I want to spawn a flash decal on an object, I'm going to increase the size so they are nice and big, and the other normal decals for the bullet hole impacts remain small. So that's what I set up over here with a little branch. And if you set it up like this, then you should have a blood splatter on the wall behind the enemy. So if I shoot him over here and you look at it, you get a nice satisfying blood splatter on the wall. And if I shoot angled down, for example, you're gonna see the blood splatter over here as well. But if the wall is further away, nothing will show up. So that's an easy way to set up something like this. There you have it. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.